Out of the Gen Z people that I speak to, an increasing number of them do not want to be rich. And this is a concept that a lot of the older viewers may not be able to get their head round. Not the fact that they expect to live in a 5-bedroom house and have a Lamborghini for making videos on the internet or something like that. No, they don't even want that. They don't want to get rich. This is an increasingly large thing that I see amongst my own generation. And we see this trend now of people who are doing the bare minimum to get by, and they're comfortable with the consequences. You see, a lot of the older people like to point out the fact that if you don't work, you don't get. Whether you work on a business, whether you work in a job, if you don't work on new projects, you will not make big advancements. But that only matters to people who want to make advancements. And for a lot of the people who I see in the comment section and who I interact with in the real world, they don't care. We have an increasing number of people who would rather work part-time, low hours, just enough to cover their own apartment or maybe living with roommates or friends or even family, right? They'd rather do that than spend their whole life working in a job, chasing the endless pursuit of money. We've already partially touched upon this issue in previous videos, but let's speak about why this is especially true for young people. Because what we're seeing now is a generation of people who, number one, grew up in a different time. I've spoken about this before. I've spoken about the fact that our generation have grown up in times that people have never seen. We now have the internet. We now have the ability to make money online, something that would have probably not been possible. Well, it wouldn't have been possible years ago. Think about it realistically. Do you think many people, if not anyone, could have become a self-made millionaire by age 20 or 21 if it wasn't for the case of the internet? Probably not, or at least a lot less people than what can now. The world is different, and some people are taking the opportunities, some people aren't. Some people are seeing the negative changes in the world and focusing on these. The fact that rents are harder to pay for your average person, mortgages are often inaccessible, the fact that workers' rights don't seem to be as strong as they may have been in the past, and the fact that most employers don't care. They see the consumerism cycle and how companies are reporting record profits year after year, whilst feeling the pinch in their own pockets. This might be the kind of thing that makes other people feel like, we need to save more. For an increasingly large amount of the population, they just don't care. They just don't want these things because they see the cycle, right? You buy this car, then it's not good enough, then you get a bigger one. Then you get a bigger one, then you get a bigger house. And they don't like this path. They see a path that they're going to get sucked into, that they are told to get sucked into, and they don't like what it has to offer. And they do not want to go down this route. With this being the backdrop for today's story, or today's situation, especially when you add in what this generation has seen, and I'm not complaining, I'm not saying it's bad. Like I've said, this generation has presented me with a lot of opportunities to make money. It makes sense why a lot of people don't care. A lot of people have seen COVID, they've seen the 2008 recession's benefits and drawbacks, and they now see where the world is. Inflation crisis, rent crisis, all of these different problems, and they think, hey, what's the point chasing after a system that never ends? Then we talk about the doom in most people's minds, this doom mindset. Wrongly or rightly, a lot of people in my generation feel like the world is inaccessible to them. Now, we've spoken before about how there are still opportunities, and actually in some ways better opportunities than there ever has been. But this is just not necessarily my opinion, but what I hear from people. They feel like jobs are harder to get, good jobs are harder to keep. They feel like job security is going down. They feel like inflation is going to take away all of their income. They'll never be able to own a home or even have children. They don't have friends, a lot of people. They don't have a large, family or social circle. They may not have a partner, girlfriend or boyfriend. So, what's the incentive to work? They don't have a social circle or a life. This is true for an increasingly large number of people, and I feel like a lot of older people fail to acknowledge this. If you take away people's social circle, or don't give it to them, or they're not provided with it for whatever reason, they will not want to work to things. Because we are, deep down, we're pack animals. We are meant to be in tribes. And taking away the tribes, the tribe mentality, the tribe culture, as the internet has done, it's made people feel more isolated than ever. So then you look at the options, and you look at how a lot of these young people will be feeling. They feel like they can't earn very much, whether it's right or wrong, from working hard. They feel like even if they do earn a lot, or even if they have earned a lot, they don't have social skills, they don't have friends, they don't have loved ones, they don't have intimacy. They feel like their employers won't care. And they've also seen in the past how big recessions and bad downturns in the economy can just potentially wipe you out. Wipe you out of a job, wipe you out of a lot of things. And again, wrongly or rightly, this is a trend that we're seeing. And this is something that I think is quite new, because I feel like maybe it's just from our generation being soft and being babied too much. Maybe the world was just too easy in the time that we grew up in, but I don't feel like there's been a generation in history that has not cared, right? And what I mean by that is every other generation will have wanted to achieve better for themselves. I feel like our generation feels that much dread and doom about the world, their future, that they don't even care. Not everybody in this generation, by the way. I make videos like this and people say, well, if you feel like that, I don't feel like that. I feel like this world is full of opportunities. I make these videos not necessarily to highlight only my issues, but to highlight the issues of others and society as a whole. When people feel like they can't make anything, or they feel like it means nothing, they're going to value time more. They're going to value connection more. They're going to value the things that they don't have. Because a lot of people in our generation grew up with money. They had money. But they might not have had friends. They might not have had social connection. They might not have had love. And they start to think, right, wait a minute. The world that we're in right now does not value these things. But this is what my soul is missing. Work is not fulfilling me. I need something deeper. That's what a lot of these people are going to be thinking, and are thinking. Then they start to add it up and they think, right, so there's no point having a big house and car if I'm single or alone. There's no point having a high-paying job if I'm not going to have children to support. And responsibility gives people a sense of commitment to themselves, to society as a whole, to the world, to their world. A lot of people don't feel that. They don't feel the responsibility. They don't feel love. They don't feel connection. They don't feel job opportunities. They don't feel like they can be responsible for anything within their life. And then they're going to say, well, what am I going to work towards then? And then they're just going to be happy to do nothing. And this is a thing, like I said at the start. A lot of old people think, well, you're going to need to get ready to be living at home until or you're going to need to do... These people don't care. This is not all people in our generation. It's a small percentage, but it's a growing percentage. I read it in the comment section all the time. People who would rather work part-time, just enough to pay the bills, live in a flat share. They've got friends. They live with their friends. They're just chilling with their friends, right? Maybe they work 3 days a week and they've got not a lot of money left, but hey, they can play Xbox with their buddies when they come home. And I'm not going to actually call that out as a bad lifestyle. You're living with your best friends. Or your family. The people who love you. The people who care about you. Rather than slaving away for some job for the next 50 years, doing nothing but that, chasing big cars and houses, trapping yourself into a system that you don't appreciate and you feel doesn't work for you. I'm not saying, like I say, that that's my feelings. I'm not saying it's the feelings of you guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't a thing at all. But I've seen it enough in people that I've known, in the world, that it is something to pay attention to. A lot of this generation don't want to even be rich. You couldn't sell them on the idea if you tried. They've always seen capitalism as evil, money as evil, money as something that is perhaps oppressive. Where do we go from there? What is the future for these people? What does it look like? Because that's what I would ask, right? Maybe it's a phase. People in our generation are still relatively young. But if you're my age or older, and you're getting older as you will be, what does the future look like? How are you going to be able to sustain yourself and even meet someone to start a family with, or go out and meet friends, if you do not have parameters in place to try? Now, that's not to say a lot of these people are socially isolated. I know there's this big notion that all of these people who don't care about money and are jobless or work very little, they're going to be these, basement dwelling types. And traditionally that might have been the stereotype, but is more and more normal people now. People who would just rather spend their time, experiencing life rather than being trapped in a company.